Hari Om. Let's start with a prayer. Om Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanora Mardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum Tvameva Mata Cha Pita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Vidya Dravidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Gurudeva Deva. Hari Om. So we are doing the sloka 47. Let's chant again. Soyamityadi vakyeshu virodat tadidantayoho tyagena bhagayoreka ashrayo lakshate yatha. So, soyam ityadi vakyeyu saha ayam iti. We gave example of this. So, soyam devadattaha. That's it. Ityadi vakyeshu virodat tad idantayoho. So, virodat tat idantayoho. Tat is that, idam is this. So, thatness and thisness, the contradictory qualifications of that devadatta and this devadatta are dropped out, and only the equation is valid when I equate the essence of it. And essence is what? It's not the body, mind, intellect, but we know there is an individual devadatta that we are equating. So immediately the intellect can equate. So it is a lakshanam, it's not what I am seeing it, but it is something that is indicative. Lakshanam is indicative, that oneness is indicated between this and that, and even though things don't look exactly same, in fact they are mutually contradictory, still I am able to equate it and get the meaning of it, provided I am seeing this devadatta right here, and I know that devadatta that was being pointed out in a different space, different time, and all together. So therefore I should have the knowledge of that, and I'm seeing this, and that's how the equation is. So what is the, how am I the Tattvamasi? I am this. So I should have the knowledge of that, and I have to have knowledge of this, and I have to drop out the contradictory qualifications to equate the essence. So I should have the knowledge of that with the essence, I should have the knowledge of this with the essence, and I can equate it. So Devadatta, this Devadatta, I can see I am identifying an individual Devadatta, but I know there is an individual entity besides the body, my intellect, even though right now I am seeing only that. But when they talk about equation, because this individual Devadatta with the body, mind, intellect is different from that Devadatta which is body, mind, intellect, which is different, equation is only valid from the essence point, but essence is only what counts, not the other things don't count. That means the body, mind, intellect of this Devadatta don't count, or body, mind, intellect of that count. The body, mind, intellect counts only for transactional purposes. But when I am talking about the equation, the validity of the equation, these things don't count because they are only superficial. They are only, I am equating the essential Devadatta in the process of Soyam Devadattaha. Same way, I am equating the essence of the Jivatma and Paramatma. The Atma part is being equated, the Jiva notions are dropped out, and Paramatma notions are also dropped out. Only the essence, and essence is nothing but Brahman, because that is pure existent consciousness. And pure existent consciousness has to be infinite. When I say I am, God also has to say I am God. And I say I am a Jiva. So both say I am. The equation is done only from I am part. When I say I am so and so, you also say I am so and so. And he also says I am so and so. He doesn't say he is so and so. He says I am so and so when you introduce itself. So everybody has to introduce themselves with I am. He doesn't say this body is so and so. I am so and so, he will tell. So when you say I am and forget the rest of it is only for transactional purposes, identifying with the body, mind, intellect. I am, I am, I am, I am. There's only one I am, because that I am is existent consciousness. So this is what to be equated on. We'll go into a little bit more detail, because this is the essence of Vedanta here, and he's packing in such a beautiful slokas in condensed way. So if you understand it, the chapter is over, the Panchadashi is over actually, because the first chapter itself, we said, it gives the whole, just as Bhagavad Gita, second chapter gives everything, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, everything is there. And the second chapter itself is Sthita Prajna Lakshana is also covered. So the whole Bhagavad Gita is packed in that itself. But since the doubts are still there, therefore what is Karma Yoga, or again third chapter, fourth chapter, all that comes into picture only as an expansion of the second chapter, which is essentially the Pratigna part, essentially the Upodghatam, introduction to the Vedanta. Here in the very first chapter itself, it says Tattva Viveka, that's why you call it. It is the inquiry or discrimination of what is the real truth, and that's what being pointed out. And Soyam Ityadi Vakyeshu Virodat Tat and Idantayoho, Tat Idantayoho, Tat and Idantayoho. That is, the contradictory qualifications of Tat and the Idam, this are being rejected. That means of the Tattvamasi, in the Tat and Tvam, the contradictory qualifications are what? All the superimposed, the attributive, and the equipments are the contradictions, because I have Sattva Rajo Guna, and these products are the body, mind, intellect are product of the Sattva Rajo Guna, and these are localized products, which is essentially what is rejected. And the global, from the global point, the Ishvara is only reflection of consciousness in that. So what we are rejecting is the whole Maya itself is rejected, and what we are equating is only pure Sat, that is the reflection due to the original. So where the equation is coming up? We have to be careful here. The equation that I am the Ishvara, or I am the Brahman, equation is coming from understanding the reflected light or reflected medium, which has wrong notions. They say the consciousness that in me is the consciousness that is everywhere. That is called Sarva Bhutastam Atmanam Sarva Bhutanam Atmani. The self that I am is the self in all. The equation is only from the point of consciousness and existence. And therefore, say this consciousness, so Buddhi, because it became a conscious entity. So just like moon is reflecting sunlight and became a luminous body in the sky. And it looks at the Venus and also Earth also, and looks at those, and they are also luminous entity from the point of from the moon, and moon sees the Venus is also reflecting. It says, hey, there is another one which is different from me, is reflecting a luminous entity in the sky. So there is a Venus, there is a Mars, all other planets are reflecting, and therefore everyone is also luminous bodies in the sky. But knowing very well the luminosity don't belong to those equipments, it is all coming from the one sunlight only. Sunlight falling on the moon, is sunlight falling on the Mars, sunlight falling on the Venus, and so on and so forth. All is only reflected sunlight only. So looking at the reflected sunlight, one has to look at the originals conceptually by Vivekena, Laksha. It is only pointing, because I cannot see the original sunlight. Even when looking at the moon, I cannot see the original sunlight. But without sunlight, there is no moonlight. So looking at the moonlight, I had to recognize by Lakshartha. It's pointing in the direction that there is sunlight that is getting reflected. That is called Sakshi. And that is what is called, so it's not the moon, it's not the Mars, it's not the Venus. We reject all the equipment that are reflecting, while looking at the reflection only. I have to see the original. Conceptually I can see, not cognitively, not by perception or anything. I have to understand. That's called Jnana Chakshu. Through the Jnana Chakshu, I have to see the original. So Tyagena Bhagayoreka Ashrayor Lakshate Yatha. So that is essentially is being pointed out in the Mahavakya, that Lakshana Vakyam. That means it is pointing in the direction for me to think. It is not saying this is it, because it cannot say also, because it is the words cannot reach there also. It is for me to think using the Vedanta Pramana in the direction that is being pointed out. So this is, there is a sunlight. Shastra says there is a sunlight and the moon is reflecting, therefore there is a moonlight. Looking at the moonlight, I have to see the sunlight. How? By cognitively, there has to be sunlight, and without the sunlight moon cannot shine, because moon is not a luminous entity. So looking at the moon and the shining of the moon, and I have to see the original sunlight. That is essentially what meditation is. Meditation is looking at every thought and see, I am conscious of this. There is a consciousness that is coming in. That consciousness that I am, the thought comes, thought goes, I am there all the time. Okay, let's go the next sloka. That is 40. We did 47. So 48. Maya Vijye Vihayaivam Maya Vijye Vihayaivam Upadi Parajivayoho Upadi Parajivayoho Akandam Satchidanandam Parabrahmaiva Lakshate. So here is summarizing what exactly is required. Maya Avidya Vihayaiva. So we here two equipments are there and two reflections are there. Here, as though there are two equipments, we are differentiating for the purpose of analysis. One we call it Maya, another call it Avidya. As a Maya and Avidya is only expression in terms of pure Maya. Pure Sattva is what we call Maya, and impure Sattva is called Avidya. So with that, he already discussed that before. So when you say this Maya, Avidya and all that, who has a Maya? Is Avidya is same as Maya? There's a lot of confusion, discussions are there, and one has to be clear. The Mayavi. So when they say Maya, says that is essentially pure Sattva, is pure Sattva of the Prakriti is Maya. And Maya is an instrument or Shakti or power that Ishvara uses. Its locus is Ishvara. Together is essentially Brahman. Brahman reflected in this one is called Ishvara. Avidya is same, the Trigunatmikam, Sattva, Rajo, Samogunas, but the Sattva with the impurities is essentially Avidya, because there is Sattva is very little, therefore the knowledge, Sattva symbolizes the knowledge, so the knowledge is there, little bit knowledge is there, not complete ignorance, because I know that I am conscious entity, I know I am an existent entity, but I say I am only this. Still there is confusion. So I am a Jiva is my notion, but I am a Brahman has to be understood. So I am Jiva. I am, so Jiva part has to go and say replaced by Brahmasmi. Just as this is rope and this is part is correct, only the snake part has to be replaced by rope. So this is snake has to be replaced by this is rope. So we keeping two things, this and is both are there, that is there still, and that is essentially is partly true and only 1/3 part is wrong. So this is part is correct, only the snake part is wrong, the wrong part is replaced by the right part through pramana. I don't just say this is rope and this is say suddenly this is from snake to rope. I should know that it is in fact is a rope. By what? By using a means of light. I need a shed light on it to see exactly. In the same way, I had to shed the light by inquiry, that's called light wisdom. That light of knowledge has to be thrown in, and in the process it gets revealed. What gets revealed? The truth gets revealed, and that is called Maya avidya vihayaiva. So the vihaya, so giving up the Maya and avidya, parasparam virodhi. So these are only upadhi. So upadhi parajivayoho. So these are upadhis. These are the instruments in which the jiva and the Ishvara are expressed. So Maya avidya vihayaiva parajivayoho. Akhandam Satchidanandam, this unbroken, that which is Akhandam, is there is no more Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, all things we have one, and that Akhandam Satchidanandam Parabrahmaiva Lakshate, that is the Supreme Brahman. So here we are not here, I am that includes only the Paramatma and the Jivatma. What about the world? We have to come back. Says, what is that in the world that I had also included in this? And that has to be understood properly. So, Akhandam Satchidanandam Parabrahmaiva Lakshate. That Brahman, Akhandam, unbroken, that means it's a pure conscious existence. There is no divisions of any kind because it's infinite. It is Ekameva Advitiyam, and infinite cannot have any divisions, and that is Akhandam. And Sat Chit Anandam, it is pure, of the nature of pure existence, and existence has to be infinite. And Sat Chit, it is our consciousness, it is not inert existence, it is conscious existence. And Anandam, it is infinite, limitless is Anantamev Anandam, a limitless entity, because any limitations causes suffering. Therefore, it is Anandam, and therefore it is Akhandam Satchidanandam Parabrahma Eva Lakshate, and that is Parabrahma. So if I drop these upadhis are dropped out not physically, conceptually I remove that thinking about it and equate that. I am dropping Soyam Devadatta, I am dropping the upadhis, not that I am removing upadhis from Devadatta, then there won't be any Devadatta, they are standing there. So I am conceptually or cognitively, I am removing the body, mind, intellect, reject the body, mind, intellect of this Devadatta, and that other Devadatta long time ago was a different body, different mind and different intellect, and that also I am removing it conceptually or cognitively and only equating the essence, that called Lakshana Vakyam. So pointing in the direction, and that's what I need a Viveka. Viveka is, I need to use intellect in order to do this. Vivek comes with the Buddhi. Don't say this is all intellectual discussion. People will say, so all Vedanta is intellectual discussion. Now we have to sit down. I know I have studied all Vedanta. Now I have to sit down and meditate. It means that he has to study more. Because what does Vedanta say? You are already that. There is nothing to meditate on. Meditation is only something, if I have to meditate on, that meditate on what? You have to meditate something other than yourself. That's what meditation implies. It says in the Avaduta Gita, says, Aham Sivam na janami kadam bhajami, Sivam na janami kadam bhajami, Sivam na janami kadam badami. Says, this is Dattatreya, writes Avadhuta Gita, and he is the greatest Shiva Bhakta, and he says, Sivam na janam, I don't know what is Shiva. And Sivam na vadami, Sivam na janami, kadam badami, kadam bhajami. Neither I don't know Shiva, and therefore I cannot tell about Shiva, I cannot pray about Shiva. So this is a Bhakta of Shiva. Why? Because Aham Shivosmi, I am the Shiva. So I cannot know Shiva because I am the very subject knower, and object Shiva cannot be there. There is no Shiva. I don't know what is object, because that object cannot be, it is not a known type, it is only knowing principle that I am. That's what Avadhuta Gita is. And the Avadhuta Gita starts with Ishvaranugrahayeva pumsam advaita vasana. Only by the grace of God you will be led to a teacher who is Advaitic teacher. So some people have lucky enough to get that kind of teacher. In my own case, I am brought up as a Visishtadvaitin, but I am led to ultimately to an Advaitic teacher because of my questioning, because I was not able to accept a localized God or so on and so forth. Visishtadvaitic principle. So that is essentially Mahavakya. And up to this is essentially the teaching itself, and that's called Srotavyaha, Mantavyaha, Nididhyasitavyaha. Srotavyaha means inquire into the nature by listening to the scriptures under a competent teacher. Who is a competent teacher? Competent teacher is the one who himself studied under a competent teacher all the way to the Lord. So that it takes a prolonged length of time until things are crystal clear. Then after listening, you have to reflect on it to make sure that there is no doubt at all. It has to be doubt free. That's called Mananam. So if I say, someone says that the electrical wire is there connected, and then I was going to touch, because I thought this is not connected yet and there is no electricity there, I was going to touch it. Somebody warned me, hey, there is a possibility that there is a high voltage current is going through. So there is a remote possibility that high voltage current is going through. That you think I will go to touch it? Okay, I don't know. I have to make sure that there is no current at all before I touch it. Whether it's a probability maybe 0.0001 10 to the power of minus 26 also, but I dare not touch it. So Swamiji gives an example. I am ready to drink a good hot cup of milk, and somebody say, hey, there is some poison in that. You think I will drink immediately, I will put it back. There may be, there may not be, but I have no way of knowing it, and therefore I am not going to touch it. I want to be doubt free. That's called Mananam is required, and that's what is the next sloka that arises an objection to this. Before we take up, this is an objection by the Nyaya Vaiseshikas. These are Nayayikas, they call. These are logician is objecting to something, and very complicated objection involves the Nyaya aspects of it. But before we should understand the Mahavakya Tatvamasi statement. A Tatvamasi statement comes from the Chandogya Upanishad, and here the Chandogya Upanishad, it starts with, it says Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati. That's a proposition. It says by knowing one thing you will know everything. So this the son is called Swetaketu, and the Uddalaka, the father, is a teacher, and the son has gone for 20 years and learned all the Vedas and come back, and he is behaving as though he knows everything, because he studied hard and he knows whatever he has learned, but he thinks he knows everything. So there is some headstrongness or proud that he has learned so much. So the father wants to put him in a proper place, and father wants to make sure that he knows things correctly. So he says, have you learned that knowing which you know what, knowing one you will know everything? It says, have you learned that knowledge, have you gained that knowledge, knowing which you will know everything? That's the question. And the student says, it's not possible. How can it be? Even my teacher doesn't know. That's how he says. Because if you would have known, you would have taught me. So therefore my teacher also didn't know. So this is the arrogance of the student. And the Uddalaka gives, there is one can know, because if I know chemistry, would I know biology or botany? I wish it could be. If I know chemistry, then I don't have to study all other subjects, then I know everything else. But that's not so. If I know chemistry, I know only chemistry. In that chemistry, in fact, super specialization, I know only a smaller and smaller and smaller object. I won't know the rest of it also, that much. So the Eka Vijnanena Sarva Vijnanam Bhavati is not possible at all. So that is the proposition in the Chandogya Upanishad, and the students, Uddalaka, the Swetaketu says it's not possible. It's not possible. If it is possible, if there is something like that, my teacher would have told. Since the teacher didn't tell, though it's not possible. And teacher, if he knows, he would have told. So teacher also doesn't know. He says it is possible. Uddalaka doesn't question about our teacher and all that. He says it is possible under certain circumstances. What are the circumstances? If the cause is the same and all the effects are from that cause, and if I know any effect, ekavijnanena, I know everything. What is the condition? Condition is I have to have the cause and the effect. If I know the cause and I know all the effects, in principle, I know all the effects. Essentially, he gives a 3 example. He says, ekena lohamanna sarvam lohamayam vigyata vacharam manam vikaro namadeyam lohamicheva satyam. So starting with the gold example that we have been taking, if I know gold, then in a sense I know the essential knowledge or substantive knowledge of all instruments that are all gold ornaments that are created in the past, in the present and in the future also. Because they are coming from the gold, sustained by the gold, and go back into the gold. That is the essence of it. So I have essential knowledge. I may not have the superficial knowledge of this ring is different from that ring is different from that gold. Who cares? That's not important. What is important is the substantive, because the value of this ring and that ring depends on the gold. It's only vak arambanam, acharambanam vikaraha, namadeyam. It's only namke vaste. The whole thing is only namesake only for transaction. Hey, go and bring some gold. You bring a ring. He said, I don't want that, I want other gold. He brought bangle. I don't want that, I want other gold. He said, sir, please tell me, there's only rings, bangles and necklaces there. What exactly you want? Because for transacting, I need a convenient, ring, bring the bracelet which is of this size. Then he will bring. So if I say gold, bring gold, he can bring anything also. Everything is gold only. So for transactional purposes, to differentiate one ornament to another ornament, I need a name and for each form so that I can easily transact with. Whereas from the essential point, they're all gold. I lock up all the gold ornaments in my locker, but if it is iron one, I just throw it outside, so that they may be useful for something else, but I don't have to lock it up. It's not as much of value as gold compared to iron. So in the same way that the Buddha says, if I know the essence, and that essence is not a nimitta karanam but upadana karanam. That means it is the material from which it came, by which it is sustained, and into which it goes back. That is essentially, if I know that, then we know. Then the Swetaketu understood the logic. Please teach me that. I want to know that. So a student, the son has become a disciple, and that's how he started with what? Ekavijnanena, knowing one thing, you know everything. What is that knowing one thing? Start with Sadeva Saumya Idamagramasid Ekamevad Dvitiyam. There is only existence alone was there, and that existence became many, just as gold became many, and therefore that existence is, if I know the existence, I know all are nothing but names and forms of the existence alone. So the proposition is that only the gold is expressing in various ornaments. There is no pure gold that I can see. I cannot see AU atoms anywhere, and it has to occupy some form for me to see. A lump form or a ring form or a vangual form or any form, biscuit form or some form for me to see. So the form is not a gold. Form is only a name. We call it a biscuit, we call it a lump, we call it a brick, or we call it a ring. But it's only for forms, but all gold only. From the chemistry point, it's just AU with its atomic structure and so on and so forth. So essential property is not changed, only superficial names and forms upon change. So therefore, what was there before creation? Before is only for teaching, because the time itself comes later. So creation was only pure existence was there, and it became many. It became both the movable and immovable. That's how we started with the creation of the subtle bodies and the gross bodies, and for bhogayatanam, for enjoying those, he created from the tamoguna, they created the whole thing. All that is followed. Therefore, from the Tattvamasi statement comes from the Upanishad, and it is important statement because the Uddalaka repeats 9 times. Upanishad itself repeats 9 times, means it is a very important statement. And different acharyas have interpreted that differently also. And one acharya says it is atatvamasi. It is, you should read as Svetaketo atatvamasi. So the Sandhi says Svetaketo atatvamasi Svetaketo. So the Sandhi makes it the split as atatvamasi. Atatvamasi means you are not that. And he is repeating 9 times. What is that you are repeating? You are not that. You are not, this Devadatta is not that Devadatta. So I don't have to repeat, this Tom is not that this one. I don't have to, I can see that he is different. I know that and I know this, they are automatically different. I don't need a teaching to tell me that he is different from that. Unless there is a similarity, I don't need any teaching. So Atatvamasi is cannot be taught by, need not be taught, not cannot be, need not be taught by scripture, that too 9 times to tell that, unless I am very ignorant of equating something wrong. So the explanation is rejected by the Advaitins. There is another by the Visishtadvaita, that is Bhagavan Ramanuja explains Tattvamasi in a different way. He doesn't say Atatvamasi, he takes Tattvamasi statement, you are that. In what way he defines that? And that he uses a Samanadhikarana and a Visheshabhyam Samanadhikaranam. So in this, what we use is also Samanadhikaranam. Bhagatyagena Samanadhikaranam. There means Samanadhikaranam. There is something common between the two, and that common is essentially equal. Tat and Tvam are being used in the sentence, you are that. So you that are being used, and that equation involves where in order to validate it, I have to reject some of it, the contradictory things, and equate. That's called Bhagatyaga, is what Advaita Vedanta uses. Now how does Bhagavan Ramanuja explains the same Tattvamasi statement without equating Jiva and Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi? They don't believe it. They say Jiva is different, Ishvara is different. How do that Tattvamasi, you are, that equation is valid then? And what is that equation there? So he said, you are that is, he uses Visheshna Visheshabhyam Samanadhikaranam. Samanadhikaranam, if there are 2 things are used together in a sentence, and there is one, the equality is from the basis of Samanadhikaranam. So how is this? How does he explain? He says, the one is Visheshanam, another is Visheshyam. One is an attribute, another is the locus for the attribute. In that sense it is being used. What is attribute? What is attribute? He says, according to the Visishtadvaita, the Brahman is one. Ekameva Advitiyam is true. One, they believe in that. But they don't believe in the Swagata Vedas are there. That means we said this is Ekameva Advitiyam. This is, there is no Sajati, Vijati, Swagata Veda. Means there is no Vijati, there are different type of, or there, not there is only one. And Sajati also not there. If there is only different chairs, I can say this chair is different from that chair. There is no Sajati also. But there is only one chair, and therefore, but there is a Swagata Veda. There is internal differences in the chair. The legs are different, the back is different, the seat is different. So there are internal differences within the chair. That's called Swagata Veda. In the same way, Brahman is one. That's what is shown in the Virat Swarupa. That is in the 11th chapter. It says, this is my Swarupam. So Krishna says that is his Swarupam. There is only one Krishna there, one Virat Swarupam. But in that Virat Swarupam, the components are different. It says there are many varieties and varieties. Rakshasa are one side, gods are one side, everybody is in that, whole universe is in that. So they become Visheshana for the Brahman. So Bhagavan Ramanuja interprets the Brahman is one. They have internal differences. The internal differences are nothing but the Jivas and the Jagat. Jivas and Jagat are also eternal, and therefore they form essentially attributes of the Brahman. So it has my hand is different, my link is different, my finger is different, but I pervade this whole body, just like the whole body, that Virat body is there. I pervade the whole body, even though each component is different. So even though each component, they are serving me as an individual. The hand is helping me, the leg is helping me, the stomach is helping me to digest, the eyes, everyone is helping the total individual that I am. But each one is different, but they are part of me, but not total of me. So they are Visheshanas. Hey, you have beautiful face. That is Visheshana of my face. Face is only one part of my aspect of it only. So in that sense, so all jivas and jagat form a Visheshanas of Brahman. So Tattvamasi, in essence you are one, but you are essentially, the attributes are different from the locus, but they are inseparable. When you say blue lotus, this example he gives, the blue lotus, the blueness is not different from the lotus, because blueness has to reside with the lotus. You cannot have blue somewhere else and lotus somewhere. They have to be inseparable. The attribute and the locus of the attribute are inseparable, but yet there is only one blue lotus, one object only, and that blue lotus is in the total. One is Visheshanam, blueness is only the Visheshanam, and the lotus is Visheshyam. Visheshyam means locus of the Visheshanam, and that is being pointed out in that equation, Tattvamasi. Tattvamasi, you are that, means you are the one aspect of the totality, and that is the Mahavakya. And that's what essentially, in essence, you are the same. That's how Bhagavan Ramanuja interprets the Mahavakya, the Tattvamasi statement, which is right and all that. He says you have the other Aham Brahmasmi, there are other statements also Mahavakyas, and when it comes to that, the Advaita, there is Abheda Vakyas and Veda Vakyas. Abheda Vakya means that which is equates the two. Veda Vakya is that separates the two. Both are in the Vedas. And the Shankaracharya takes, the Advaita takes that the Abheda Vakyas are important, Mahavakyas are important, other ones are supportive statements, and whereas the Ramanuja takes the Abheda Vakyas are important, whereas the other one is, this one is only indicative statement of the totality. So they all are interpreting the same statements of the Upanishad, both the Dvaitas, Advaitas and Visishta Advaitas, and each looks at separately, and the Dvaita puts Akara there, says Atattvamasi, and whereas the Ramanuja accepted it as Tattvamasi, but accepted it because of internal differences. One is Visheshanam, another is Visheshyam. Whereas Advaita says equates by Bhagatyaga, you have to reject the contradictory qualifications of this and that, because he already said Vacharambanam Vikaro Namadeyam. This is a introduction. Before he says Tattvamasi, introduction was given. He says the whole gold became many. So don't say the ring is real, bangle is real, necklace is real. They are real only for transactional point. The essence is only one, and that is what counts. Everything else is only a superficial knowledge. It is important for transactions, but not important in terms of the value of the product that we have. All that has to be understood, and with that background, the teaching of this is over for the time being. Now we get into the Mananam, reflecting where a Purva-Paksha is presented. Purva-Paksha is an objection to this. Why do we need to know? Since we should not have doubts in our own mind. So clarification of the doubts is important, and therefore in the next sloka, that 49, it is a Purva-Paksha from the Nayayikas, that is Nyaya Vaiseshikas, that is the logicians raise an objection using kind of logic, and we will take up that in the next class. With that, we'll stop. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ओम शांति शांति शांति। हरिः ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ओम. என்னம்மா என்னாச்சு?